variance analysis. Now, this is the topic that I really love to teach because it's very logical and it really helps you understand like where you're going wrong, which area you're making mistakes in, and so you can obviously correct the mistakes. And you might be surprised to know that we can actually track quite precisely where like who messed up, like which person costed us money or let's say saved us money. Because if you remember, we already covered in the budgets that we at the end of the year we compare the actual data with the budgeted data and see the variances. So of course we'll find unfavorable variances and favorable variances. So we need to investigate like what caused this unfavorable variance to happen and what caused this favorable variance to also happen. So let's get started. So first we are going to talk about is direct material variances. Now, I want to build your foundation in a very strong way. So, when we're talking about direct material variances, means I either spend more money or less money on materials than I should have. There are always only two reasons which could have caused it to happen. Either there's a price variance, means we paid more per kilogram or per pound of material or less per kilogram per pound of material than we should have. That will cause a price variance. And then the second reason can be quantity variance. Now, when we're talking about quantity variance, refers to how much material we actually used. So you might have used more material than we should have. That will also cause a variance in our direct materials data. So now we have to think about it. Okay, price variance. I might have paid more or less than I should have. Who is responsible for that? Of course, the purchase department, right? Procurement department. They are responsible for buying the material, negotiating a good price. So when I see a price variance that is unfavorable, obviously I'll go to my purchase department and ask them like, why did you pay more than you should have? Then we told you to pay, let's say. Now they can have genuine reasons. They can say, because of inflation, the prices have gone up. And if we think that's a logical explanation, then sure, no worries, right? Happens. However, if you go to the purchase department and they just give you a reason like a reason that doesn't make sense, and like they probably messed up in negotiations, they weren't able to negotiate uh, a fair deal. Now obviously you need to take some actions. Okay, maybe you replace that person who was responsible for negotiating, right? Or take some other measures to correct the mistake for the next year. So that's the purpose. Identifying the mistake is not to punish people particularly, it's to correct so next year we don't make the same mistakes. And this is why when you start a business in first year, businesses lose money, because first you don't know which employees are the efficient employees and which employees are the, let's say, not so helpful employees in your company. So that's one thing. And you're making so many mistakes and other things, that's why in the beginning years you lose money. So the quicker you can do variance analysis and figure out where you're going wrong and where you're doing a good job, the quicker you can start making corrections and start making a profit instead of a loss. Okay, anyways, back to the topic. And so we talked about price variance is the responsibility of the procurement department, and quantity variance is the responsibility of the production department because they use the material, they put the material into the machine, into the batch, right? So of course, if there's a variance because of quantity, we will go to the production department and ask them like, why did you use more material if that was the case? If they use less than they should have, means they saved us material. Obviously, we'll say like, okay, like a good job, right? How were you able to use less material? Now they might say, this is like where story gets interesting. They might say, because the material was so high quality, we didn't have to use as much as we thought. Now we'll go again to the purchase department and reward them, not the quantity people, because they purchased the good quality material. They were the cause of this variance being favorable, means us saving money. So this is how this works. Um, it's very helpful to do variance analysis to figure out what are the mistakes we are making and what are the good things we are doing. So in this case, I just wanted to give you a formula of how to find the price variance. So price variance formula is standard rate. Let me put it in different ways just to make it easier for you. Let's say standard price minus actual price times actual quantity. Now, what do I mean by standard price, actual price? I will explain all of that. Don't worry about it. Okay. How do you find quantity variance? This is standard quantity minus actual quantity times by standard price. Of course, if you're a student, you will have to memorize the formulas unless it's open book exam, which usually it's not. So now let me explain like what do I mean by price and quantity and all of these things. So I always give this example to my students. So when you go to a shop and you ask for a price, does the shopkeeper tell you the price of one unit of that item or everything combined? Of course, one unit. Like, for example, if I go to a shop and say, what is the price of an iPhone? They will tell me the price of one iPhone, not like assume I need the price of all of the money, all of the iPhones together. So that's kind of what we have to understand by price. When we say price, we mean price per pound or per kilogram, whatever the unit of measure for the material is. So you have to, and you might not realize this. Trust me, this is the biggest mistake people make. They are not able to know how to take the numbers from the question. If you don't understand what we mean by price, means if you don't even know price means price per pound or per kilogram, depending on what the unit of measure is. How will you find it in the question? Because question will tell you the total money you spent and some money here you spend. Like how would you figure it out? What the price is? So price is always price per pound or kilogram. Uh, so hopefully that's clear. However, when we talk about quantity, quantity refers to the total kilograms or total pounds that was used or should have been used. So means total kilograms used. So just to make it clear, price will always mean price per kilogram or pound. Quantity will mean the total kilograms or total pounds that you actually used. Okay. Now, so what's the difference? You might say, like, what's the difference between standard price and the actual price? I think you might have an idea. So let me explain. Standard price means how much price per kilogram we should have paid to purchase the material, how much per kilogram we should have paid. Actual price means how much price per kilogram we actually paid. Similarly, standard quantity means how much total kilograms of material, again, it can be pounds, kilograms, but I'll use kilograms because that's most of the world. Total kilograms we should have used because it's the standard, right? And actual quantity means how much total kilograms we actually used. So now now we're going to obviously solve a question. So I can show you how to pick these numbers from a question and the strategy to solve the direct material variance question.